Welcome to your deep dive. Ever feel like the metaverse is evolving faster than anyone can keep up?
Yeah, it's moving at a crazy pace.
We're diving into a stack of research about the technology shaping these virtual worlds, where we've been, where we are, and where it might all be headed.
It's a fascinating journey. You might be surprised to learn it starts way back in 1986 with a program called Habitat.
1986, that's before the internet as we know it.
Right.
What did this habitat even look like?
Imagine a very pixelated world like on a Commodore 64 computer. But here's the thing. Habitat had avatars.
Really?
The very first ones. It was also one of the first virtual worlds with a graphical interface.
Wow. So the seeds of the metaverse were sown even back then. What happened next?
Fast forward to the early 2000s, and the rise of open source projects like Open Simulator really changed the game. Open Simulator allowed for the decoupling of the client and server sides of virtual worlds.
Hold on, break that down for me. What does that actually mean, and why was it such a big deal?
Imagine a world where anyone could create and run their own virtual world without needing permission from a central authority. That's what this decoupling enabled. It led to an explosion of creativity and experimentation in the virtual world space. Think about programs like Second Life, which let you use third-party viewers to experience these worlds in different ways.
Things were getting seriously interesting.
Definitely.
So we've gone from pixelated avatars to a whole ecosystem of interconnected virtual worlds. But there's still a gap, right? We're talking about a true metaverse, something seamless and immersive. What's holding us back?
You're right. Building a truly interconnected and immersive metaverse presents some significant technological hurdles. Our research points to four key areas that need a serious upgrade: psychological realism, ubiquity of access and identity, interoperability, and scalability.
Okay, let's unpack these, starting with psychological realism. How do we make virtual experiences feel truly real?
It's about engaging all of our senses, not just sight and sound. Imagine stepping into a virtual world where you can feel the texture of a surface, the weight of an object, even the subtle changes in temperature or airflow.
So it's about creating a multisensory experience that rivals or even surpasses the real world.
Exactly. We're talking about blurring the lines between the physical and virtual. And it's not just about replicating reality, but about enhancing it, creating experiences that wouldn't be possible in the real world.
What needs to happen on the technology front to achieve this level of realism?
Let's start with the visuals. We're talking about a level of detail that goes beyond anything we've seen before. Think lifelike avatars with individual strands of hair, clothing that drapes and wrinkles realistically, and environments that are rendered with breathtaking fidelity.
And how do we make those visuals a reality?
Researchers are already using techniques like programmable shaders, which allow for incredibly detailed and dynamic rendering of objects and environments.
Programmable shaders. That sounds pretty technical. Walk me through that a bit more.
Essentially, it's about giving developers more control over how light interacts with objects in a virtual world. Instead of relying on predefined lighting models, programmable shaders allow for real-time adjustments based on a multitude of factors, like surface texture, material properties, and even the time of day. This leads to a level of realism that's simply not possible with traditional rendering techniques.
So we're talking about a virtual world that's not static, but constantly evolving and responding to its surroundings. That's impressive. But it's not all about visuals, right? Sound plays a crucial role in how we experience the world around us.
Absolutely. Imagine hearing your footsteps change as you walk across different surfaces, the subtle rustling of leaves in a virtual forest, or the distant sounds of a bustling city. These details might seem small, but they make a huge difference in terms of creating a truly immersive experience.
It's all about those subtle cues that trick our brains into believing what we're experiencing is real. But what about touch? That seems like a much bigger hurdle to overcome.
You're right, touch is a complex sense to replicate. Haptic feedback technology is emerging, but it's still early days. We're talking about gloves or suits that can simulate the feeling of pressure, texture, and even temperature, but those can be clunky and limit movement. Some researchers are exploring pseudo-haptic feedback, using visual and audio cues to trick your brain into thinking you're feeling something.
Pseudo-haptic feedback. That sounds fascinating, and a bit like mind manipulation. Tell me more about how that works.
Imagine reaching out to touch a virtual object, and as your hand makes contact, you see a slight ripple effect on the surface, accompanied by a subtle sound. Even though you're not physically feeling anything, your brain interprets those visual and auditory cues as a tactile sensation.
So we're essentially hacking our own sensory perception to create the illusion of touch. It makes you wonder, where else could we take this? What about taste or smell?
It's a fascinating thought, and it speaks to the incredible potential of the metaverse to expand our sensory horizons. But for now, let's bring it back to another key aspect of realism: our avatars. They need to be more than just digital puppets.
I'm with you there. Nothing kills the metaverse mood like interacting with a stiff, emotionless avatar. We need that human touch, or at least the digital equivalent.
Right. We need our avatars to convey subtle nuances of human expression and body language. Think about a slight raise of an eyebrow, a genuine smile, or even the way someone leans in during a conversation.
So how do we capture that kind of subtlety in a digital form?
AI is playing a huge role here. Researchers are developing AI that can translate your real-world movements into believable virtual expressions. Imagine a system that captures your natural blinks, smiles, even those subconscious shifts in posture, and reflects them in your avatar.
It would be like having a digital twin that mirrors not just your appearance, but also your unique mannerisms and personality.
Precisely. It's about creating a sense of human social agency in the metaverse, making those virtual interactions feel much more authentic and engaging. Okay, so we've covered psychological realism in depth. But a truly immersive metaverse needs to be more than just realistic. It needs to be seamlessly integrated into our lives.
That brings us to our next hurdle: ubiquity of access and identity. What's the challenge here?
Right now, it feels like we have a different online identity for everything. Different logins, different avatars, different digital possessions scattered across a fragmented landscape. The metaverse aims to change that.
So picture this. You slip on your VR headset and boom, you're in the metaverse, seamlessly transitioning between different platforms and experiences with your virtual self and all your digital stuff right there with you.
Exactly. That's the vision, but making it a reality requires overcoming a major challenge: getting everyone to agree on a standardized way to manage these virtual selves. Imagine a universal digital identity that you control, allowing you to seamlessly navigate the metaverse, carrying your digital possessions, reputation, and experiences with you.
That would be incredible. No more creating new accounts and starting from scratch every time you enter a new virtual world. What's being done to tackle this challenge?
There are some promising leads. One concept is Open Cobalt, which functions as a potential virtual world protocol standard. Think of it as a universal language that different metaverse platforms can use to communicate and share information with each other.
So kind of like the internet protocol, but specifically designed for the metaverse.
Exactly. It would establish common protocols for things like identity management, data transfer, and security. Another idea is the development of virtual world URLs, or VWURLs.
VWURLs. Okay, tell me more about those. How would they work?
Imagine clicking a VWURL and instantly being transported to a specific location or experience within a virtual world, regardless of which platform you're using to access the metaverse.
That would make navigating the metaverse so much more seamless. It would be like having a universal address system for virtual worlds. But what about the sheer scale of the metaverse? Billions of users interacting in real time. Our current internet infrastructure can barely handle a fraction of that.
That's right. Scalability is arguably the biggest hurdle we face in building a truly immersive and interconnected metaverse. We're talking about a fundamental rethinking of how we handle data and network traffic.
So what are some of the solutions being explored to address this challenge?
One promising concept is dynamic scene graph, or DSG technology. Imagine breaking down the metaverse into smaller, more manageable chunks, each with its own dedicated server.
So instead of one giant server trying to handle everything, we have a network of smaller servers working together.
Exactly. And the beauty of DSG technology is that it can dynamically allocate resources as needed. If a particular area of the metaverse is experiencing high traffic, the system can automatically allocate more server power to that area, ensuring smooth performance for everyone.
It's like a self-balancing system that adapts to the ebb and flow of metaverse traffic. What other innovations are on the horizon for tackling scalability?
Another area of exploration is peer-to-peer networking, where users directly share resources with each other, reducing the strain on centralized servers. Imagine a system where your computer helps to power the metaverse experience for others, and vice versa.
It's like crowdsourcing the metaverse infrastructure.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly efficient, but also incredibly complex to manage.
It certainly presents its own set of challenges, but the potential benefits are enormous. And then there's the fascinating field of action-based protocols. Instead of constantly sending the entire state of the virtual world to every user, action-based protocols only transmit information about changes that are relevant to a user's specific actions and location.
So instead of overwhelming the network with unnecessary data, we're streamlining the flow of information to only what's essential. That sounds like a major bandwidth saver.
Exactly. It's about making the network smarter and more efficient so we can support a truly massive number of users without sacrificing performance.
We've been talking about the metaverse in very technical terms, but at its core, it's all about human connection, right? It's about creating new ways for people to interact, collaborate, and share experiences with each other.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this technology so fascinating. It's not just about ones and zeros, it's about the human stories that will be told and the connections that will be forged within these virtual worlds.
And with that in mind, let's shift gears and explore the potential impact of the metaverse on society as a whole. Because it's not just about individual experiences, is it?
Not at all. The metaverse has the potential to reshape our social structures, our economies, and even our political systems.
Whoa, that's a lot of power for a virtual world.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to navigate those changes?
It is a lot to think about.
Yeah, we've been diving deep into the how of the metaverse, the technology, the challenges, the possibilities.
Right.
But it all circles back to a fundamental question.
You mean the why?
Yeah.
Why does the metaverse matter? Why should anyone care?
Exactly. What's the driving force behind this technological revolution? Is it just about escapism, or is there something deeper at play?
It's a question worth pondering. The metaverse, at its core, taps into something inherently human, the desire to connect, to create, to explore beyond our immediate surroundings.
So rather than replacing reality, it's more about expanding it, pushing the boundaries of what we perceive as possible.
Precisely. Think about the early cave paintings. Those were, in a sense, a form of early virtual reality, a way for people to share their experiences, their stories, their understanding of the world. The metaverse is simply the latest evolution of that impulse.
That's an interesting way to look at it. We've always sought ways to connect and share our experiences, and the metaverse provides an entirely new canvas for that.
And that brings us to the final and perhaps most important point. The metaverse isn't just something being built around us, it's something we're all actively shaping through our choices and actions.
So it's not a passive experience.
Right.
It's about being informed, engaged, and involved in shaping this new frontier.
Absolutely. The future of the metaverse isn't predetermined. It's a story that's still being written. And the question for you, the listener, is, what role will you play in that story?
That's a powerful thought to leave us with. The metaverse is more than just a technological marvel. It's a reflection of ourselves, our aspirations, our anxieties. It's a new frontier full of possibilities, but also one that demands our attention and careful consideration.
We've only just begun to scratch the surface of what the metaverse could become.
It's true.
The journey ahead is sure to be full of surprises, challenges, and incredible opportunities.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.